Welcome to The Conversation, where we talk to professionals in the performing arts and entertainment industry. I am your host, Veronique George, and it is my sincere honor and privilege to have Dr. Matthews, Dean of the College of Social Sciences, Arts, and Humanities at Florida A&M University, on the show with us today. How are you, Dr. Matthews?
I am doing well, doing well. How are you, Veronique?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
And thank you for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
It is my honor. Thank you so much for saying yes to this moment. So thank you so much.
I'm going to say yes to you, Veronique. You know that.
Well, I'm honored, and I do not count that lightly. So thank you so much for always saying yes and your support in every step of the way.
My pleasure.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. I just wanted to introduce you to our audience. A native of Lane, South Carolina, Dr. Valencia Matthews has served as Dean of the College of Social Sciences, Arts, and Humanities at Florida A&M University since 2012. With an acting and directing career spanning more than 30 years, Dr. Matthews has worked to help equip students, faculty, and professionals in the arts. It's so great again to see you, Dr. Matthews, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We'll go ahead and begin with the conversation.
Okay.
I remember my first encounter with you on Florida A&M University's campus. I was walking up the hill from SPI on my way to Lee Hall, and I saw you. And you had such a regalness and aura about you that left an indelible mark on me. You gave the impression that you were born for this moment, born for the arts. Did you always know that you wanted to pursue a career in the arts?
Well, thank you very much for that compliment. I appreciate it. Anyone that I can get, I will take. So to answer your question, it was probably when I was in high school that I knew that I wanted to major in theater. And the interesting thing about that was growing up in Lane, which is a small town about 60 miles northwest of Charleston, very small country town, still a very small country town with very good people. And of course, all of our connections were through the schools there, the school system, and through church. That's how you knew everybody. That's how you connected. And so what happened with me in high school, our high school principal, Charles E. Murray, was one of those individuals that was really, I guess, a man before his time. In that small town in Greeleyville, which is where I went to school, he would do shows. He forced us, and I say forced because he expected it of you and you did it. He would have declamation contests throughout the year, and then he would always put on a show, and it was always once per semester. And the thing that was so great about it is that he made sure that the shop teacher built a beautiful set that's appropriate for the play. So there was this instilling of excellence in us from high school, and then having the experience of being in churches and certainly making sure that you always had to do your Easter speech. You always had to do your Mother's Day speech. There was always a speech to be given in church. And the expectation was that all of the children would participate. So that's how I think I got my start, just in terms of speaking and talking. And then in high school, it metamorphosed into going to plays at South Carolina State College then, which is where I ultimately went to undergrad, where we saw productions that were excellent productions. And so we did that for 4 years when I was in high school. So when I left high school, I knew that I was going to South Carolina State. I knew that I was going to do college, and that was good. And that's how I got my start. And so I knew that's what I wanted to do. And that's how I got connected to doing the arts per se.
Love that. So started very early on for you. It's almost like you had no choice.
I had no choice. It's a norm.
I love that. Love that. I'm sure that you've heard this quote, "You don't choose the time chooses you," by President Barack Obama. Why do you think now is the time for minorities, particularly young African Americans, to start diversifying the narrative and telling their own stories?
Okay. So, I think one of the things is that we've always been telling our stories. And I think there are times when, because of what happens in history, what's happening in the country, what's happening in the world, opportunities present themselves. And so here we are talking back, if we're talking about the Harlem Renaissance, which was another opportunity for us to tell our stories through art, through music, through theater, through the arts, dance, through the arts period. And then you're talking about moving into the civil rights movement, another time in our country of turmoil. And here we are again, another moment in the world of turmoil and people feeling disenfranchised. And it's always been the arts as ambassadors. We've always used the arts as ambassadors, as an ambassador to make change in the world. And so social justice always been a part of what I think the arts should be used for. I'm one of those people, I don't believe that arts for art's sake. I certainly enjoy any production that I may go to just to the entertainment value. But when I'm directing or when I go see a show, I always like to be enlightened. And so here we find ourselves in a situation once again where the opportunities are presenting themselves because of a travesty that happened. And so what I'm hoping is that the partnerships that are being formed, that they are legitimate, that people who are asking for us to join in and make the world better, to make life better in this country and across the world, that they're genuine in those partnerships, and that the folks and that we as African Americans are taking those opportunities, but even more importantly, making sure that we are the ones who are the stewards of those opportunities and providing opportunities across the arts, across all realms that say we are owning these. We have to tell our stories because nobody can tell them with the truth that we have. And so because of what happened with George Floyd, of what's happening with the pandemic, opportunities are opening up in a lot of different ways, using a lot of different modalities. And I'm hoping that we latch on, we use them, and we take control of them at this time.
I love that. You had so many great nuggets in your response. But one thing that I did want to talk more about is that idea of truth, right? Of staying in your truth, being in your truth, speaking from your truth. As you said, that we've always told our stories. How do you think that we can dig into that and tap into that more at this time than any other time to be authentic in this moment?
I think one of the things that we always have to do is we have to collaborate. We have to talk to each other. We have to understand, I think, that everybody has a story to tell and that the stories need to be told from the communities that we live in, that those are the places that the stories live, that we don't have to go any place outside of that to provide the truth. And so whether you are a student in elementary school, a student in middle school, high school, or college, or whatever it is that you do, things that are happening in your community, there should be somebody helping you to understand that this is where the stories are, and you're not going to go someplace and find them someplace else. So you have the students tell the stories in those places. So when I think about when I was growing up, we certainly had plays that were written for us. And we produced those plays and did those plays in elementary school and in middle school and in high school. The other part of what has to happen is that we have to understand that our stories have to be told because we're writing them, because we're producing them, and that it's not just because we are the performers in them, that we have to take these opportunities in every realm. Because I think what ultimately makes the difference is that you have to have a table, a seat at the table on every level. And so sometimes we find ourselves wanting to be in front of the camera. And I think we should always be in the front of the camera, but I also think we have to be behind the camera as well. And so one of the things that I think is always interesting and always crucial is that we say, and we make all of us understand that in telling a story, there are a number of people who are telling the story. You're here asking me questions today. I may be considered the talent, but there's also someone who is in the sound booth. There's someone telling all of these, allowing us to tell these stories or have this conversation today. And it's not just the two of us.
I love that. That storytelling is just beyond what we're seeing here today, right? Storytelling takes the format of many different types of methods and channels. And I love that point. That's an excellent point, Dr. Matthews. Which leads me to my next question for you. You've poured your life into helping and developing others. What is just one way that they can pay it forward?
I think the one way that they can pay it forward, Bernard Kinsey and Shirley Kinsey are graduates of FAMU, and they have this absolutely awesome collection of African American art that they have been exhibiting around the world for the last many years. And so he's been here certainly on the campus many times. And so one of the things that he said that I think is indicative of is the answer to the question that how do we pay it forward? We have to always, I think what he said was to keep the ladder down and the window open. And I think that that is what we're supposed to do, that whatever we find good, we're supposed to share it with others, and we're not supposed to keep it for ourselves. And so whenever I'm doing something, I keep that in mind, that it is important for me because individuals poured things into me from my family, my my parents who, my father died several years ago, but my 93-year-old mother is still living. And I remember very neat, when being a professor, one of the things that we got a lot of parents saying, you're majoring in theater. I don't want my child to major in theater. What are they going to do? How are they going to make a living?
Right.
I'm glad, and I understand that question, but at the same time, I find it comforting that my mother and my father never said what not to do. We wanted to go to school. That was the expectation. So when I said I was going to major in theater, it's like, okay, never asked any question about it. And we moved on. And so I think I've done relatively well being having majored in theater. And so it's important, I think, for us to look back at who helped us and remember that we've never done anything by ourselves, and make sure that we provide those opportunities for others, your students, your colleagues, your friends, and make it a collaborative effort always, because it only makes us stronger if we say that I'm not going to be selfish. I'm going to make sure that I pave the way for others. And I expect that from the next generation. The people that I help, I expect them to help others, because that's the way it should be. And that's the way, as we move forward, we should expect it to be.
Absolutely. And I have certainly benefited from you paying it forward, from you pouring into my life. I appreciate you so much. One of the reasons why I'm here today having this conversation with you is because of the influence that you've had in my life. So thank you so much for that. That leads us to our next question. What advice would you share with the next generation of playwrights, actors, directors, producers, and artists in general?
I think the thing in general is probably to be generous with your talent, whatever it may be. Be honest in what you do. Be honest in your deliberations. Do right by people. Do right by people. And I don't care what discipline it is, because the idea is if you are a director, if you're a playwright, you're always working as an ensemble. You're always working with someone else, because you can't do it alone. When the playwright, he may write the play alone, but in order for it to have the life that a playwright wants it to have, it's got to go on stage. So when you're doing your work, treat people the way that you would want to be treated. Be respectful of the work that you're doing. Be respectful of other people's work, and take care of it. Take care of the discipline that you're a part of.
I love that. A sense of ownership there, right? Responsibility that you also bear in bringing this work to life. I love that. Thank you, Dr. Matthews.
Absolutely.
What is the best way that a person can leave their mark on this world?
That's an interesting question. Just this last Monday, Tuesday, I was out of town because my undergraduate professor from South Carolina State passed. And it was unexpected. You know, about 2 weeks ago, about a month ago, he got ill, and then he passed. And so there were a number of us there at the funeral to honor him. And I think one of the things that I guess resonated for me from all of us was the fact that we loved him because when we were there at that institution, I said that he gave us a place to fail, he gave us a place to succeed, and then ultimately he provided a place for us to come home to. And so over the many years that I've left South Carolina State, I've always gone back because of the experience that I had there. And so I think that one of the most important things that you can do to leave a legacy is to, whatever arena you play in, play fair in it. Love the people that you're with. Make sure that you do right by them, that you help them. And when they need to be kicked in the butt, you do that too, because ultimately you're looking to leave a legacy of truth, a legacy where people will ultimately, as we did with Mr. Mundy, go back to honor him because he cared for us when we were there. And so through us, he has left a legacy. He has left people all across this country who are doing good things, many of them in the arts, many of them in other realms, because of how he treated us when we were there. And so I think that's the kind of, you leave a legacy based upon how you treat people, what you do for them, and when you do it right. And so that would be my answer to that.
That's awesome. So full from that answer. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
What productions are you currently working on or work that you are a part of at this moment?
So right now, the Essential Theater is where I came. When I came to FAMU, I came as an assistant professor, first as an adjunct, and then eventually as an assistant professor in the theater program there, the Essential Theater. So now as dean, I don't get a lot of opportunity to direct as I would love to, but they still let me play around with them. I do get an opportunity to go and whenever we're having productions, at least they allow me to say hello to the audience when they come in. And I like to usher because I like to see the people and interact with the community. So they still allow me to do that. And so right now they're in the midst of determining what the 21-22 season will look like. Yeah. And they've given me a slot on there to do a reader's theater piece that should happen, I think, in either end of January or February. And I can't say what the name of it is yet because I'm still trying to get the rights to do it. But that's what I'm working on right now because I haven't done anything in 2 years and I need it. I need it. It feeds the spirit. It feeds the soul. So they're going to let me do something in the spring of the year.
Ooh, so excited. Something to look forward to. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
We would love to be able to stay in contact with you. Where can our audience find you after this show?
You can always find me at FAMU CSA. That would be at FAMU CSSAH. And so Instagram or Facebook. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Matthews. It's been a pleasure as always. I appreciate you even pouring into us in this moment with you. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, you know what? I will say, Veronique, it's because of individuals like you that I am so glad that I've spent my time in the academy because students like you make it all worthwhile. And so I am always supremely proud of the work that you do because of the spirit that you bring to it in terms of the excellence and the caring. And so always know that I am a fan of Veronique's, okay?
You have me over here crying now.
It's so very true. It is so very true. I'm just always proud of you.
Thank you so much. I am just so humbled to hear you say that and at a loss for words, but that means so much to me. Thank you so much. I truly do admire you. I appreciate you. And you are a role model for me. So I'm humbled to hear you say that. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Dr. Matthews.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for The Conversation. Stay connected with the VOG Productions community on social media. We'll see you next time.